Hello, everyone. My name's Michelle, and thank you for joining me for this Business Book Club blog. And this time around, I'm looking at Happiness by Design by Paul Dolan. I'm always interested to know what makes us tick, so this book immediately leapt out at me. Is there a way to design happiness? I was really interested to know. So let me tell you a little bit about the book first. It's by Paul Dolan, who's a professor of behavioural science at the London School of Economics. He has worked with Daniel Kahneman, author of Thinking Fast and Slow. He has done work in the nudge unit, I believe, or is very close to nudge theory. So I thought this would be a really interesting take on what makes us happy. The book's split into 10 chapters, 2 parts. The first one explores what happiness is, what causes it, what hinders it, how we should define happiness. And the second part is split into deciding happiness, designing happiness, and doing happiness. So a bit more practical in the back end. So, a few key takeaways from me. The first one is this definition of happiness. And Paul Dolan talks about happiness as being pleasure and purpose combined. So, to explain that, pleasure refers to enjoyment or satisfaction derived from experiences that make us feel good in the moment. So I suppose this is quite hedonistic stuff, I guess. Dancing to your favourite happy tune or laughing with friends, going on a roller coaster makes you very happy, but won't necessarily create a fulfilling life. Purpose, on the other hand, is about having a sense of meaning and direction of life. So these are activities that might take a lot of effort or work, so they don't feel immediately pleasurable, but they give us a sense of meaning or purpose or satisfaction with our life over the long term. So things like it could be volunteering for a charity or just helping a friend, or of course raising a family, or whatever that looks like to you. So this combination of pleasure and purpose, and Dolan suggests that actually we need to have a nice balance of activities that involve the two. So look for either activities that have both of those, or that we bring a nice mix into our lives. Now, there is a sort of method in this called the DRM, which is, I'm just kind of trying to remember what it stands for now, but this is a daily recording, daily reconstruction method. That's it, which is like a way of thinking about the things you do throughout the day, thinking about your feelings over the time, and then giving it a score, if you like, observing how pleasurable or purposeful it was to you. And I think this is an interesting thing from the book, because one of the things that I took away was how often we misjudge what makes us happy. So in lots of studies about happiness, people are asked what they think will make them happy, and they quite often give the answers that they probably would be expected. So more money, more achievement, having a really high flying career, moving to a different area, maybe getting a different job. But actually, those things don't necessarily make us more happy, or at the very least, the way in which we pursue them doesn't necessarily make us happy the way that we think they do. So I like this idea of recording and observing what makes us happy. Personally, I find the idea of time chunking and the idea of time and motion studies on your own life, that sucks the joy out of joy for me. I find that a bit too scientific and kind of takes the shine off it. I think I wouldn't find much pleasure or purpose in that. But for me, there is something about observing what makes you happy as opposed to what we think ought to make us happy. And I think that's a really valid point. So that was a big takeaway for me. What makes us happy truly, probably not what you think. The research might suggest that actually what you think makes you happy doesn't, and you're much better off to work that out for yourself. And I suppose this is the part of deciding happiness. Another part is attention, where you give your attention to your happiness. And Dolan believes that this is the missing link. If you're not happy as you could be misallocating your attention. Attention is a scarce resource. If you give it to one thing, by definition, you cannot give it to each other. So it's not just what we do or what we achieve, but actually what you put your focus on and how in the moment you are with it when you're doing it as well. For this reason, Dolan has a whole section on multitasking and why it's really bad for your happiness. I think there's much written about that. I won't cover that here, but it's hard to disagree with it. Multitasking dilutes our attention, it reduces the quality of our experiences, and of course that it diminishes our happiness, of course, and affects our attention allocation. One thing I really did like about this book, it was a surprise for me, but it warms my heart, is the effect of helping others on our happiness. It seems that the research shows that when we help others, when we share happiness or resources with others, this in turn makes us happy for a couple of reasons. One, it can increase the sense of purpose that we might get when we share things with others, but also it's coming back to this allocation of attention. When we're allocating attention to the happiness of others, we feel happy, and of course that can take attention away from things that might make us unhappy as well. That seemed pretty robust in terms of the research, and it resonates with my human belief that we are all a community. We're tribal creatures by nature, and of course what's good for the group is good for us too. So that was a surprising takeaway, but a really important one. So, a few key things from the book there. There's much in it about happiness. There's plenty of facts, plenty of research. So, if you're someone who really likes an evidence based approach to understanding what makes us happy and some practical, tangible steps for how we can create happiness, I think that this book is going to be for you. Personally, I found the almost scientific approach to it took the shine off it a bit for me. It was a little bit dry for me in places. I personally find Martin Seligman's PERMA model a bit easier to understand, a bit more rounded approach to happiness, and I find that easier to apply in my life without charts or graphs or plotting figures. But that's not to say they're not complementary, and actually there's plenty in this book that you'll like. Overall, I found it tough going at times. This took me longer to read than I expected. I just wasn't gripped by it. But there's no doubting that there are some great tips in there, some fantastic research. And if you're beginning the new year with a bit of a personal planning session and you want to create happiness for your life, this would give you a fantastic starting point. So who knows? Maybe give it a go. Happiness by Design. Is it happiness an accident? I definitely think it's something that can be decided upon. So maybe give this a go and see where it takes you.